I don't think this plays into it that much, but I do think it plays into it maybe a little bit. And I was watching Asmongold stream, in fact, and he was reacting to a video. Let me bring this up here. So the story here is U.S. Senator Ted Cruz agrees to roundtable meeting with Asmongold on outlawing pay-to-win microtransactions. So Asmongold has been like incredibly outspoken on how Diablo Immortal basically needs to die, that it's the worst thing that's ever happened to gaming, and I agree with him. And somehow this made it to that he made contact supposedly with U.S. Senator Ted Cruz's office to talk about making pay-to-win microtransactions. And in fact, when I saw Ted Cruz's reaction or comment on this, he expanded it to loot boxes. So pay-to-win microtransactions and loot boxes illegal. So supposedly Asmongold's talking to Ted Cruz about putting legislation to make pay-to-win microtransactions and loot boxes illegal. Now, I put it here because obviously we just talked about Overwatch 2 getting rid of loot boxes. Do you think there's concern from any of the big players that maybe loot boxes will get regulated more heavily in the US and they need to change now? Lindsay, maybe, I don't know if you have thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely should be. Legislation and laws in general are historically extremely slow to move, but can be, I suppose, quite damaging or quite harsh when they eventually go through. I don't think that there's any justification for needing to immediately fix this, considering I went to an FTC hearing on loot boxes like 3 years ago, and obviously nothing has particularly changed since then. I think it would be wise to move away from that as a monetization model in general, just because I think that there's a lot of pushback from fans as well. So I don't think that this is like a they need to do right now, like all irons in the fire kind of alarm. But I do think that it would be wise to move away from that and find other forms of monetization for several reasons, one of them being the potential for legislation down the road.
Any other thoughts, guys, on this?
I think I agree with everything Lindsay said. I doubt that this came, though, as a result of the Ted Cruz Asmongold thing. It's too quick, right? Like, these companies like this don't make decisions that quickly, right? Like, it's not like they changed the entire monetization design of this multi-$100 million game they've been building based on like one tweet from Ted Cruz. Like, it's just not, that wouldn't be how it would go down in reality.
Yeah, it's something that you see in traditional sports also, right? Like, the top athletes are going to use their voice and their status to try and implement change, or at least to try and make headlines. But the thing here is, I mean, what's Ted Cruz going to do at the end of the day that hasn't already been discussed? Like Lindsay said 3 years ago, is he just getting publicity from this demographic, right? And kind of taking advantage of a hot topic where you can get in front of new eyeballs. I don't want to criticize him or any political candidate too much on the show. It's just, gamers don't like to feel exploited, fundamentally, is what we're talking about here. You have a very well-known gamer that's very vocal against that. And is this going to lead to any true change remains the question. And I don't think there's an answer for that, is kind of how I'm looking at this. So it's a fun story. It's cool to see the names attached to it, but I just don't have a lot of hope, I think, for anything immediate.
Okay, I want to just take one poll here, and I want to ask chat also. Probability that loot boxes get regulated, and I probably mean banned, in the US in the next 2 years. Where would you guys put that probability?
0.
0. Jeff says 0. Lindsay? You're muted.
She's with me. She couldn't bear for everyone to hear.
She couldn't bear saying that out loud.
Jimmy?
Yeah. Not within 2 years. Too short.
0. You also 0.
Yeah.
3 zeros. Come on.
Yeah. I mean,
0%?
That statement, it says a lot more about my beliefs about the U.S. political economy and ability for them to get anything done versus like what I really believe about loot boxes or should they be banned or anything like that. It's just like we can't pass anything in this country that is remotely sensible. So it's very unlikely you're going to get, enough people on board to do that or not do that. It's just like it's going to grind to a halt like everything else. And it's not an issue that enough people care about that people are going to take it up and champion. It's just not that important to the average voter.
Fair enough.
At all.
Adam R says, wait, which announcement came first, the Asmongold or Overwatch? I think technically the Asmongold one came first. The Overwatch announcement was a few days later. So read into that as you will. Kevin says, hasn't EU law taken aim at loot boxes already? I think the Netherlands did already. Yes, Kevin, they did. But I don't know if there was a hard ban on them. It was more aimed at stopping kids from gambling. That has always been sort of the way that most governments have tried to sort of go after loot boxes.
Although there was a big recent, and I think we covered this a couple of weeks back, where I think it was Belgium, basically their version of the Supreme Court effectively said that loot boxes were not gambling. So it was a big step in the wrong direction for the anti-loot box regulators.
Yeah. Michael says, this is new. Schedule change. Michael, yes, as I mentioned at the top of the show, if you missed it, we're trying out a new time. We're trying to reach more time zones. If you love it, if you hate it, let us know. But so far, the feedback has been good. So let us know if you hate it, you prefer doing this at night or in the morning or whenever. Ryan says, Asmongold, Ted Cruz loot boxes. What a time to be alive. I mean, it's fun that it's part of the conversation, right? But to Lindsay's point, feels like it's been part of the conversation for a few years now. I disagree with you guys that it's 0%. I actually think in the next 2 years, it's probably like a 50-50 toss-up. Truly like a 50-50 toss-up. That I think the whole idea of kids gambling, eventually people decide to do something about it, but I don't know. What do I know? Adam R says, Streamlabs got called out by regular people on Twitter for copying other companies, and within a day they issued a statement saying, oh, hey, we messed up, we'll fix it. I mean, Adam R, you're implying that Overwatch 2 came out with this announcement after the Asmongold thing. I agree that the decisions there are being made that quickly and that haphazardly, because they sort of have always been made that haphazardly at Activision Blizzard. So I do think they may be connected, but I think it's more likely that they're just worried about the player base, is my guess. Kevin says 0. Wow, Kevin agrees with all of you guys. All of you guys think 0%, 0. No chance, impossible. Adam D says 10%. That feels a little more reasonable to me, at least some chance. Kevin says, of all the things to focus on, LOL, come on now. Kevin, we got to get rid of pay to win in Diablo Immortal. This is the most important issue facing America today. Adam R says 2 years, 0, 5 years, depends on who has majority in Congress. So Adam R, I think you agree with Jeff on this one, that it's more a statement of the political system.
Is it not to get into a political conversation, but which side bans it? I don't know. The right is all about free enterprise. Are you really going to ban, microtransactions in video games? That seems very anti-conservatism. And then the left, I don't know. I just don't know whose political issue, who makes hay from it. I'm just not sure.
I feel like
it's Asmongold's political issue. Come on.
Until Games have control of Congress.
Yeah. A one platform candidate, Asmongold, getting rid of these places. You have a lot of voters.
Well, I guess the family values part, you're going to get a weird group. You're going to get the anti-tech folks and the extreme family values folks. And it's going to be a strange unity of people that have nothing to do with Democrat and Republican. If anything.
Kevin says, what are the chances California takes aim at it? I would assume Activision Blizzard is a big political donor in California, I would think, right? I would assume they have political influence, or they're lobbying there, and they would not want that, considering, I mean, almost all their mobile stuff is loot boxes still, right? Most of the King stuff is all loot boxes, basically, or some version of pay-to-win microtransactions. So I would assume they would be pretty wholeheartedly against it. Adam D says slow clap for Jeff. Matt says no way will loot box be banned in the US, especially since the country is starting to loosen up its gambling laws. That's a good point. That's actually a good point. All right, maybe I'm not 50-50. Maybe I'm 10%. Maybe I'm with Adam D on this, saying 10%. I don't think it's zero.
That could actually cut both ways. I mean, that would be state by state, which is how the gambling laws are being done. But you could see some element of when a state is legalizing gambling, they actually tighten other areas where it's like, they decide to legalize sports betting, but in part of the bill that's negotiated, they end up banning these sort of like mobile microtransaction, pseudo gambling, if you call it. I don't think that'll happen, but you could make that argument.